So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful, awesome episode of Doc and Sifu's monthly Ponderings.
Sifu and Doc.
It's Doc and Sifu. So, well, it's one of us and it's the other one, and it's a monthly Ponderings. And this month, what are we talking about, Doc? I almost said Sifu then.
Well, there you go. We're like twins anyway. What should we talk about? Let's talk about simple, straightforward exercises that can help people to remain emotionally calm and clear-minded in these very volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous times. How does that sound? That sounded quite good, that.
It did. I think it was different to what you sent me earlier, but that sounds good. That sounds good too. We'll do that one. We'll do that one. So, good evening all, and welcome. I'm not sure what's happening with tech. I know it's 12:12. It's a full. Oh yeah, of course it's a full moon as well. I'm surprised I haven't turned into a business person. Normally, normally I'm crazy, so I would actually turn into. Somebody really serious. Who's that? Ria. Hello, Ria. How you doing? Good to see you here on the Zoom. Oh, no, don't press that button. Where are we? We've got to bring us back now. Where is it? Where are you still there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Good. I pressed the wrong button. It's all right. Stop pressing buttons, Boggie. So, and breathe. Okay, here we go. So, okay, Doc. So, yeah, I mean, yes, things do always get a little bit interesting at this time of year. And things start to, I think, people get caught up in the confusion, don't they?
They do. And 7 years ago, on the 12th of the 12th, 2012, I gave a talk at a local spiritualist church. And it was all about the upcoming shift in consciousness. And Sifu, I didn't have a clue what I was talking about, to be honest with you. It's just that the year before, I was woken up in the middle of the night and all this stuff started to pour in. And I was almost told, if you like, by the universe or by source, I was told that I needed to find out about the great shift in consciousness and how it would affect humanity. And my normal self thought that I was probably on my way back to the psychiatric department, because I've spent quite a lot of time in the psychiatric departments. But I realize now that there was nothing really psychiatrically wrong with me, although some of your viewers may think differently. But really, it was almost like I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, really. And, the stuff that was coming through me and had for a long, long time was probably closer to the truth than I realized, And what's happened is I didn't understand about the astrological and astronomical effects that impact upon mankind, and womankind as well. Let's not get into that woman-man debate, because that could cause trouble, Which
and it's not like we like trouble or anything, is it?
No. I think no, we're not really sparers, are we? But there's so many people now talking about the rise of the sacred feminine, the rise of the sacred masculine. Where I feel I am now is I'm sort of both of these creatures, right? And I'm sort of in the middle of the two of them. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel more like androgynous these days, like a mixture of the two. And what I've realized is from doing studies about the ancient Kabbalah or the Kabbalah, that within every human being, there are basically 12 spheres or 12 dimensions of consciousness, and each of these levels of consciousness, right, has a masculine and a feminine aspect. And I think each soul, right, has a different vibration or frequency at each of these dimensions. And that's what gives them their individuality. And I think the soul isn't the source of unconditional love. Spirit is the source of unconditional love, because each soul has an agenda of its own that it chose before we incarnated. This is where I am now. So each soul will have a specific resonance at which it can fulfill its perfect function, its perfect mission. And it's almost as if we need to go inwards. After we've spent a long time looking outwards for all the answers, we come to a point where we start to look inwards, you know. And as you've heard me say many, many times before, it's really from there, the end of your nose down to your heart. That's where the answer lies, deep within the heart, you know. And I believe in the heart of hearts, when you can tune into that point, that 0 point, then you access the soul's consciousness. And then that's where real, true life begins, when you can start to walk step at a time into your soul's purpose and your soul's function. And I think that's where we find the joy of living. That's where we find some purpose in our life. And I've got no idea what I'm going on about here. I'll just keep going. It sounds great. And I think that that's where we have at the 0 point this mystical union or conjunction of the yin and the yang, the masculine, the feminine, the ergotropic and the trophotropic, all these different names for the two polarities, the positive and the negative, you know. And in Taoism, you know, we have all sorts of correlations as well that go on the brain, you know, and in the Crystal Palace. And, you know, I know that you know all this stuff as well. And I have a fair understanding myself. But the North Star and the Big Dipper are also different polarities as well. The North Star, to me at least, represents the yang force, you know, in the pineal gland. And it's a fixed point, really. And it's the heavenly gate. And I think, you know, it floods us with ultraviolet rays or violet rays, you know, and the hypothalamus, right, that's the source of infrared energy. So we've got a balance that happens within the individual. And when we get the breathing right at the level of the heart, then we get a sort of synchronization that happens here. And the pineal gland opens up as well, you know. So I think more and more people are tuning into this sort of stuff and feeling it from the inside out. But a lot of people are resistant to let go of all their old habits, old patterns, and old ideas. And I think we're almost being forced by this cleansing energy to let go completely and allow the next level or the next stage of human evolution to come in. There we are. Lecture over. Over to you, boss.
Okay, boss. Yeah, no, spot on. I mean, it is. I do think this whole. I've been talking about it a lot this year, but you know, the whole thing about the balance, and I think the biggest thing. There's certain things I've been watching recently. Funny enough, like actually David Wilcock's wife, Elizabeth Wilcock. I found out she was what I call a hardcore martial artist. Hardcore meaning that she actually knows the true thing. Martial arts is actually, it's not about fighting. It's about personal development. It's mind, body, and spirit. And so hardcore, not as in, you know, mad, you know, for martial arts, but hardcore as in the true stuff, the true understanding. And she actually reminded me of the Eastern, or she called it Eastern, we would call it Daoist, the Daoist philosophy. So you have Kuan Yin, the divine feminine, but it's an energy, it's a quality. Kuan Yin was this strong woman, you know, and then you have the divine masculine now in the West, who you can see, or was also represented by the Merkaba, which is Metatron and Metatron's cube. And we've had on my show before, we've had Robbie McKenzie, who actually wrote a whole book about the Metatron and Clarion's Call, and that's a very much his thing. And I always never quite mentioned that in the East, in Daoism, it's General Quan, and General Quan is the divine. Now, General Quan would, even though Kuan Yin is as well, General Quan was known as the spiritual martial artist or spiritual warrior, and the spiritual warrior doesn't destroy; he protects. Yeah. He doesn't rule; he guides, or he or she guides, and it's this whole thing of why I always say, I don't say I'm a master, I say I'm a Sifu, and because it's about pointing the way, helping people on their path, and it's interesting growing up in martial arts that I had, I had certain Sifus that were very encouraging and very much about nurturing encouragement. And then Western martial artists, you're an idiot, well, you're this, and and you get even in education, sometimes in education, you get this sort of way of instruction. And it's quite funny. I was speaking to somebody. Who was it? I think I was speaking to somebody yesterday who learned in America, studied originally in America, an American education, and then Western education, came to Western university, and in American education, it's very much force-fed. It's very much, it's this, do this, do that, do this, do. And then they came to England, and came to British University. And they, the lecturer had done the class, and they said, now write an essay on it. And the person wrote the essay, and the lecturer gave them an F. And they said, why did you give me an F? And it says, because all you did was you just spewed out everything I'd said. There's no independent thought. Yeah. Now I bring all this up because of the fact in our own society, wherever you are in the world, both masculine and feminine have been forced into certain situations, but not just masculine and feminine, the old, the young, the this, the that. We're all being boxed in certain things. And I think it's very much about, you're never too old. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. It doesn't matter how much shite or wondrous things has happened in the past. It's all about the now, is that you are far more powerful than you were originally led to believe, and that it's up to you to move forward. Now, yes, universal energy does affect us, and the interesting thing between Western astrology and Eastern astrology is more like psychology. They more tell you this energy has this quality, and this quality. So this time of year or this time of day, this sort of energy is going. This characteristic is going to affect you in a certain way. It's a bit like you put us two together, and you get one result. You put us with somebody else, or you add Shanine, it changes slightly. You add Todd, it changes slightly. And it's that whole thing about the mixing of energy. And so it's this thing of, we've got to learn that we're not, that the old paradigm is everything that happened yesterday.
Absolutely.
That you don't have to be who you were yesterday. If you want to change, you can change. Technically, as I said, when I was 9 years old, which bemused a lot, but blew people away, because how did a 9-year-old know to think this? I said at 9 years old onwards, I said, you can have whatever you want in life as long as everything has a price. So you can, whether it's good or bad, there's always a price, and you can't always determine what the price is to get what you want, but you can have everything. So like, you want to get fit and you're unfit, at first you're going to probably be a bit sick. You're probably, you're going to sweat like mad, and it's going to hurt. But eventually you'll get fitter and healthier, and that's how it works. And it's this understanding that, and I'm no different to any of you guys. I'm in this myself, that there's a lot of stuff at the moment I need to clear out. I used to have a 4-bedroom house, and I live in a single room flat, and I still have a lot of the stuff in the 4-bedroom house. And it's like, I've got to stop holding on to it. I've got to start letting it go and moving out, because it goes back to a Buddhist and a Daoist saying of the everything as you go through life, you have a backpack on your back, and as you go through life, everything that you touch, you pick up and you put in your backpack. And if you don't empty your backpack, it will get heavier and heavier and heavier, and it will slow you down more and more. And so you have to learn to let stuff go and let things go. And I think this biggest thing of whether you're male, if you're a man, you've got to start opening up your emotions more. Tell people how you freaking feel. It is okay. Stop listening to the old paradigm. And be honest. If you're a female, you're meant to be freaking strong. You're meant to be. You can. You're not a child. You're meant to have. You're meant to be strong, and you're meant to be able to do what, go and do stuff and take on responsibility. That's supposed to be your freaking purpose. That's what we do. We're meant to have both qualities, but we're also, and the one thing I want to add, and then I'll shut up, is that you're also meant to have the childlike qualities. So I mentioned General Quan. General Quan was the protector of the divine feminine, so that divine feminine quality, not the female, but protected them as well, but the quality that they looked after, they nurtured and encouraged people to have loving energy, to be nurturing, to be caring, to be understanding, to use your emotions. This is the divine feminine. But also the child's fire. The child's fire is to have fun, is to laugh, and let things be. If something silly happens, laugh. I know sometimes people, that's inappropriate, but if it was if something happens and it's funny, laugh. If it upsets somebody, you give them a hug and say sorry. But things happen. How many times have we said, I was driving along, my wheel fell off. It's blooming hilarious now. It was, it wasn't at the time, and that's the thing, is when you take out perspective, or add perspective, whichever way, when you take out the now in that respect and you look into the distance, you see the funny side of stuff, and you see that you also learn from the stuff. And that's the biggest thing, is that everything that's happened to you is a lesson. I've had some crap gone from my life. I know this man in front of me has had quite a bit of crap go through his life, but the whole point is he's still smiling sometimes. He's still living. He's still laughing. He's still loving, and more importantly, as one of my Sifus would say, if you're still here, your mission ain't over yet. So and that's the whole point. And you got to move. I think the biggest thing is that things are changing, and I see the change. I see things intensifying. I see there's things that 20 years ago we would have never had a Trump. 20 years ago we would have never had a Boris, let alone a Trump. Who was the guy, the Looney Party? That would, you would have thought he would have got in more than Boris, and he was in the UK there was this party called the Looney Party, and it went out of its way to be ridiculous, and the whole point is that you'd look at them and you'd think, but it will never happen. But look where we are, people. Look at, whatever you think, whether Boris or Trump is your saviour or your freaking nightmare, they are not what we would have had 20 years ago. It wouldn't have happened. Things have flipped. Things are changing, and they're changing fast. And you need to, as one of my Sifus would say, and then I am going to stop. One of my Sifus would say, when you're on a boat and the waves get bigger and bigger, maybe it's time to get the surfboard out. Yeah. So use the surfboard, because the surfboard can obviously deal with the waves far more easily than the boat. The boat gets stuck up in the waves, but change your habits, change things, and like I say, I'm facing it. Am I facing it myself? So so I'm not talking just to you guys, I'm talking to myself. Time to change, time to let things be changed, time to be the change. But hey, what do I know?
No, I agree. I think that we have to let go to be changed by this power, by this force, by this higher intelligence, and it's very difficult, isn't it, for the human ego to let go of what it identifies with, and a lot of sort of mindfulness techniques are about becoming nothing, just let go everything to become nothing, because in that nothingness is everythingness, and I understand what that means now. And for me, how can I tell when everything's going well? I feel great. I feel open. I feel flowing. I'm not laughing like a monkey all the time, but I have a deep sense of joy in me. And what's happened to me over the last year, I would say, is most of my life I've been more inclined towards the feminine energy inside me. You know, I've been a caring, and I've been very sensitive to people's needs. And in a way, you know, I've been an interferer in people's lives, you know, and you know, I've been very sort of inclined to mother people, right, and not allow them to grow for themselves. You know, I see that very, very clearly now. But what's happened in the last year certainly is almost like a dragon energy has got hold of me now. That's starting right from the root chakra in my perineum, and it's sort of chiseled its way up through my spine. You know, there was a bit of a time when it got blocked in my sacral area, and all sorts of strange energetics were going on there. But it's taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot, because my understanding is that all human beings are androgynous, and that means they've got a mixture of both masculine and feminine within them. You know, not male and female. I mean, male and female, they're the biological characteristics. The masculine and feminine are different things. They're different aspects and polarities within the hormonal system of the human being. It's easy to make, you know, it's like estrogen, it's a feminine hormone, and testosterone, that's the male one. And just the combination and the mix of those two will give you a certain mood state and different characteristics. I mean, I think nature is perfect in its balance, in that for the first half of life, you know, males are more testosterone driven, generally speaking. And then halfway through, they go through a male menopause called an andropause, and they start to grow mammary glands. They start to put more weight on, you know, they start to do more hoovering and washing the dishes and things like that, you know, and they become they become more nurturing, softer and gentler. But the strange thing is, women, when they go through the menopause, they start to grow facial hair and beards. Their voices drop and they become deeper, and they become much more pleasant to be around. This is what I found. Sifu, I can't help it. I've got to do this.
I know. It's all good.
Seriously, though, what's actually happening is, in my mind, it's consciousness that sends signals to the brain. The signals, because of the consciousness, the impact of the signals and the brain waves impact upon the hormone system. That then secretes various hormones into the body, and those hormones then impact upon the stem cells, which impact upon the way proteins are produced, which impact upon us, because cells become tissues, become organs, become systems, become human beings. So it all starts off in consciousness. And this is what medicine can't understand, although it is moving towards more vibrational medicine and understanding of the quantum dynamics. And I think that's why Taoism, and I follow Taoism, it's probably the closest to my personal philosophy, because it's really about letting go and allowing all these energies, the higher energies, to guide you through life. You know what I mean? It's almost like a setup. I see it as a sort of setup now, really. But what I'm trying to say is, how can we help people to sit still long enough in this bloody crazy world of getting things done? How can we help people to take a step back, sit down, breathe in a certain way, and use positive emotion to tune into their soul? And Sifu, you know it's this easy. You sit down, you just have your back relatively upright, you put both hands on your heart, you know, you can do it as if you were cradling a little child, you know. And basically, mindfulness is about feeling, it's not about thinking. Meditation, you can't think your way into meditation, because that distracts you from where you're trying to get to. So really, it's to focus on a feeling first at the level of the heart. So you can sometimes tap on the heart, you can feel the warmth of the heart, the hand and the heart. And all we do is gently, and I teach people in and out through the nose if possible. So it's breathing all the way in from the palm of the hand and stopping for a second, and it's breathing all the way out through the palm of the hand. So it's in, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. Sifu, I swear, if people do that for 3 10-minute sessions for 90 days, then their lives will change beyond their wildest dreams for the better. Because what's happened to me, and I've practiced this for a long time now, and what's happened to thousands upon thousands of people who practice this is that they get more clarity of mind and they feel more emotionally calm. But the most important thing is they reconnect to their body, because most of us are just living this head-centered life where we're disconnected at the throat from our bodies, and we're sort of like in this bipolar state of dissociation, really. So I can see that by simply putting the head back on top of the shoulders and reconnecting through an open throat to the heart, then that's the way forward, you know. And there are certain, I mean, there's a magnificent organization called HeartMath, you know, and they've been teaching this and showing people this for a long time, since about 1994 or something like that, you know. And I was fortunate enough to link with them when I did my PhD. And my PhD was basically all about how what goes on between your ears, how it immediately impacts upon the way that your heart works. And the heart is the greatest oscillator in the body, but it's being suppressed and repressed through eons of time by manipulative forces that have been much more intelligent than us. And that's now, fortunately, flipped on its head now. And the ordinary people are now not taking any nonsense anymore. But the most important thing is, and I feel like a bit of a lecturer here, but I'm going to say it anyway, because this is how it's coming out. You know, I think that the point is not to fight against what's gone on before, because that's like shadow boxing. All that's already manifested. We don't need to go back and fight against it. We just need to turn, as Jesus said, you know, look in a different direction, turn the other cheek. And we need to go forward now and create something new from an open and a flowing heart, you know. And I think people are getting this now. They're turning their back on the way that the old paradigm 3D system was, and they're feeling more inclined towards building something now with light, with love, with care, with compassion and all that, you know. It feels, especially today, and I don't normally do dates and times and stuff, but today I've really, really felt this energy pouring in, and it feels hopeful. It feels really, really hopeful, you know. So what I'm suggesting is to the viewers is just try it, you know. Don't knock it until you've tried it. Put your hands on your heart, right? Just tap. And it's almost as if as you sink deeper and deeper, you'll come to a still point. And sometimes people see a light, sometimes people hear things, sometimes people get a big upsurge of feelings and stuff like that. That would be an indication of the reconnection to your soul's purpose, you know.
Yeah. And whatever it is, don't be afraid of it. Don't, you know, don't, you know, my lungs are popped, or my ribs are falling out, or you know, and I'm going to get upset, or I've got to stop. No, let it out. You know, because that it's surging up. It needs to come through. And I mean, I don't know. So the Laogar is, so they call these points the Laogar, and especially if you can connect them, so almost like do the old wings of the dove, which I always I've now got madness in my head. Whoa, boom, boom. So, but yeah, that really activates, and there are other, you know, there are ways of like expanding, contracting as well, but that's a very powerful, very simple way. And you know, like let's say, like turning the other cheek is there's a thing in Qigong they say is that energy work, all this work is like rowing upstream. Is that every practice you row a little, you know, you row more. But if you stop, you don't stand still, you go backwards, because the flow is going the other way. So you need to keep rowing, you need to keep going, and that will bring you upstream. So and I say it especially because, you know, the old paradigm, the old way of thinking is a stream. It's set in a certain way, and it's pushing us all. If you let go, it will pull you in a certain direction, and you'll follow that direction. You want to go a new path, you've got to keep going upstream, being persistent. Don't go too mad. Don't row like, don't desperately try to get everything done, because that you'll just knacker yourself out. But you row persistently, you practice diligently and persistently. And Daoism, that's what Daoism loves. But the two main ways, well, there's 3 ways in Daoism, or certain philosophies. The fire way, which is very much about action, and it's very masculine. The water way, which is very feminine, and the Tai Chi way, or the steam way, which is fire and water combined. You get the flexibility of water, that steam can go through the smallest of gaps and it can break things open, but it will also erode things. It won't leave residue, it will erode things away. And steam has the power to burn, but it's still water, so the steam is the way. So you both have the masculine and the feminine, or the spiritual warrior is the other way of calling it. And the whole point of is that, if you don't like something in society, do something about it. Go and create your own society. Or just go and live on your own and ignore. I don't like what I see in the newspaper and the TV. So honestly, I don't have one anymore. I do a lot of YouTube. I have I got a friend who's got Sky, and I've got a Sky app. So there's certain things I like watching, certain things. But if I start realizing, there's a DC comics like Flash, I watch some of them, and some of those I watch sometimes. But as soon as they get a bit too negative, I think I'll forget them for a while, and I'll go back to focusing on what I do want to do. And it's the whole point. It's the you want to change the world, change yourself. You want to change things. Yeah, it really is. It really is that simple. And it's funny. It's funny how, for me, so many of these shows now are so synchronistic, because they're so locking in. One, we're talking about something that leads into another show, that leads into another show, and all the shows are interconnecting. And I was talking with a wonderful lady called Tash Mitch earlier today, and we talked about. I say that now. I forgot what we talked about. We talked about what was the thing? Oh yes, I talked about. I had friends who created their own. In essence, a group of people came together, bought some land, made houses that were totally green. Used, and they built their own community. Now, what happened out around the outside? People, it's a commune. They're devil worshippers. They're this. They're that. Because the old paradigm is a prison, but it's an open prison, and we're all the guards. That's the irony, that we're because we listen to the old stuff, and we stop people from changing by saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," or all this, or all that. And we run around in circles, and the only way you get out of that is to go the totally different direction. And like I say, even if that's just in your own head, because remember, inside this, you are meant to be God or goddess. You are the creator of here. You may struggle out there, but here you are boss. You are king. And whether that's your health, whether that's your mental understanding, whether that's your physical reality, inside here you are the ruler, and you decide what you do and don't do. You get governed, you feel like you're being controlled by the outer, but it's actually you that says no, yes or no. And even to the point, it was an interesting thing I said today, like somebody was saying, and I'm not going to mention any names, but somebody was saying, their doctors kept saying, you should really take this medicine, or you should really have this injection. You should really have this injection. I said, notice the thing there. And they said, what? They're asking you. They can't tell you to do it. They can't just say, you must take this. They have to ask you, because you have to sign up for it. You have to accept it, and you have to prescribe. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't take medicine. I'm just saying, just remember, doctors and that they ask stuff. Do you think, I think you should do this. I think you should, but they can't tell you to do it. You have to actually agree to it. So be aware of what you're agreeing to. Be aware of and me and Doc does a similar thing. Is that listen to your heart.
Yeah.
If what you're doing is filling you up, expanding you, making you feel happy, then keep doing it. If it's not, if you're feeling contracted, do something about it. Because doing the same thing over and over again is a sign of insanity. Is basically what Einstein said. So don't do the same thing over again and expect a different result. You need to change you need to change the parameters, change just a little bit, maybe not loads, but just a little bit, just enough to get to see things move and see things change. But I love, I'm very, very much inspired by this man in front of me, because I love he gets up every morning and he says, okay, well, okay, heart, okay, world, what are we going to do today? That is very Dao, that is very Winnie the Pooh, which is also Dao, the whole, just going with that flow and flowing down the stream that you want to be down. That's the point. If you go that stream, we're always forced down the other stream, the mainstream stream, but that is breaking up. I mean, I won't go too much into Dark Cabal or the Lumen Donkey or anything like that, but the old way is collapsing, and it's collapsing because there's been a switch, and that switch was, for me at least, that switch was 2012. It didn't. A lot of people thought it was going to be the end of the world, where it never was going to be that. Even the Mayans knew it wasn't the end of the world, because the Mayans wouldn't have made another 25,000 year calendars if that one was the end of the world. I mean, come on, it's just the press wanted you to focus on that. And some people thought, 2012, we're going to grow wings and be telepathic and it's all going to be wonderful. And it was, well, that'd be nice. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but it'd be nice. But things have changed. Things are changing. You actually look, think of 8 years, how much has changed in 8 years? And things haven't, but have, you've got, to just look at the news. When I do look at the news, you see certain little things go, I mean, like I say, Boris and Trump 8 years ago, that would have never happened. What? For those in the UK, you'd think you're watching Spitting Image. You think you're watching a comedy program. That would never happen. So something is happening, and something's happening big. And I don't personally think I don't think 2020 is going to be what they wanted 2012 to be. I don't think it's all going to change overnight, but I definitely think it's going to intensify. And I definitely think if it does intensify, you need to start clearing out your your backpack, or you need to start finding things to help you swim in a different direction.
Well, it's feng shui, isn't it? It's feng shui. It's minimizing, really. And more, it used to be, what was it? Less is more now, no doubt about it. We need to sort of discard anything that's not serving us, as they say. And I'm finding that I need less and less now to be comfortable in life. I lead quite a frugal existence. I don't need much anymore, and I'm okay with it. I don't want I don't want all the things that I wanted when I was a kid. So I'm maturing in one way, and I'm getting worse, and I'm regressing in other ways. But I see the world out there as a collective representation of what we're all projecting in our minds. You see. And I think they call this great shift in consciousness the quickening, and what I've discovered is that sometimes I can feel it coming in, and that my thinking quickens up, and then I start to get contracted, as you say, an egocentric contraction. But I've learned now that by breathing, that can disengage you from that, and it can bring you back to your own resonant frequency, where you can work at your own pace, in your own time. And that's where the comfortableness is, really, but in order to do that, sometimes you have to say to people outside of yourself, you have to say, hang on a second, I need a bit of time here just to settle down and feel my way through this, and everybody wants stuff done quickly. And sometimes it takes a lot of courage and determination to say, stop now, and sometimes I have to walk away from people, because people can be very demanding, and Sifu, I have to be honest with my own vibration now, and I just work off my own energy, and I get a sense of, with my energy, I just let that go out and sense its way through. And sometimes I feel a sort of a negativity coming back from a person. I don't have to work it out anymore. It's just that at this time, I don't want to work with that person. It doesn't seem right, So it's almost like I've got these feelers that go out, and I trust my heart now more than I trust my head, because to me, this is what's called the seat of stinking thinking. This is the thing that wants to take me back into this egomaniacal world of materialism and stuff, and self-importance and fear and all this stuff. But this is where the balance is, and to me, the more I trust my intuitive sensing, the better life becomes, And as for planning, people say, well, don't you plan out and all that? Well, of course, I make a rough sort of a plan, but I sort of feel my way through, because who knows what's coming up tomorrow? Nobody. I live on the yesterday is history and tomorrow is a mystery, So I'll just wake up with I don't know, whereas before I always had a plan going, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to get my own way. I don't do that anymore. I throw it up like that, give it to me heart and say, what do you want us to do today? So I almost live in the royal we all the time now, and I don't fully, and I don't like the term ascension, because ascension, it's almost like a pressure to compare yourself with others who seem to do better. Each individual on this planet is unique. Nobody's special. This is me talking now. I don't see anybody as special at all, but we're all unique. We've all got a soul imprint that we need to sort of drop into and try and feel our way. And once we do that, then I just believe that if we're all working from the soul's resonance, that then we'll all be working in harmony towards a better future for everybody, So there's that, that sort of euphoria and utopia working together.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. So, it's like see a fractal, and a fractal, splits out and shapes. But if everybody is an individual fractal, but when you put them all together, all you'd see is just like you'd see that if all the fractals were one color and then you put them all together, they would fit perfectly, and it'll all be so. When you're working from your individual source, everything will match up anyway. Everything finds it's when we're trying to say, oh, you must be this, and how many times when I was younger, but people would say, oh, Boggie, you're so funny. If only you didn't do this, or if only, and I have been out with the women who then tried to change me, and or change something, and then go, oh, you're different. You've changed. Duh. So, but it's that, and I want to go back a tad, like, so the breathing. So I love, the way you're talking about, like, breathing as well. And there's an old daoist saying that if you breathe fast, shallow, and erratic, your thoughts are fast, shallow, and erratic, and your actions will be fast, shallow, and erratic. But if you breathe, and also, like, if you breathe, if your breath is noisy, then your thoughts will be noisy, your actions will be noisy. But if you breathe smoothly and quietly and effortlessly, your thoughts will be smooth, quiet, and effortless, and your actions will be smooth, quiet, and effortless. So one of the things, whether you're just doing breathing or qigong or whatever, is that they say is that when you get from that mentality, the whole point in Tai Chi, like, they try to do things very slowly and smoothly, and that was one of my little points. It's interesting, you see in China, and in China, the Tai Chi is a lot like this, and you see some people in the West, and they're like, and it's like, it needs to be smooth. You have your own way, but it needs to be smooth. Those stops are, it's like your thoughts stopping or your action stopping. You're stopping the flow. It's meant to be continuous and flowing, and that, and that's an important thing. Is that this thing of when you learn to slow things down, and when you learn to to breathe and just let things flow, things change. And as you said, a very, very important thing is that you have to remember that, you know, you are your own creator, you are your own God. But that means you can tell people to stop, or you need time. Give yourself time. Give yourself that pause. Now, there are Taoist techniques of, leaning back, physically leaning back, but then what that does in psychologically, it actually gives you more time, and you see in things slow down, and there's lots of little tricks. But it's knowing that you are actually far more powerful than you realize, and that thing of you've got to, if you see life more as a mystery, more as the whole point of Winnie the Pooh is everything is an adventure. Yeah. Opening the honey jar can be an adventure with him. And there was this great book. It was a daoist written. It was a book written about Winnie the Pooh and Daoism, and it was for me, it's one of the most funniest things. It was by Benjamin Hoff, and it's called the Tao, or the Tao, because it was spelled with a T, but in China, Dao is with a very silent T, but it's more bigger D. But you can spell it with a D, or you spell it with a T. So some people say Taoists, and Daoist is the same thing, but it's the Tao of Pooh. And it described that Winnie the Pooh was, in essence, a Daoist. And one of the biggest things, my favourite stories is that Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, and Piglet go into the forest and they get lost. And Tigger, Rabbit, Tigger, Piglet, and Pooh. And Rabbit goes, "Oh, it was definitely this way. We go this way, and we'll get out." And they go and they keep finding themselves back in the centre of the forest. And then Pooh says, "Well, actually, rather than trying to find a ways out, why don't we try to find our ways back to the centre of the forest, and we'll find our ways out?" And Rabbit goes, "Oh, don't be so stupid. That's a ridiculous idea." And he went off and did his own thing. And they walked out for a little while, turned round a couple of times, then went back to find the centre. And they found the borders. They left, and they went home and had honey. And Rabbit didn't come back until the following day, if I remember rightly. And the interesting thing of all of that was for me, apart from the story, was the fact that the Eastern philosophy then went mental. They said, "Oh, Winnie the Pooh's just like Plato. Winnie the Pooh's just like this," and it's the, no offense, Doc, the scholar side, the ego scholar side. So rather than to know wants just knowledge, is trying to desperately say, "Oh, it's this as well. It's this as well. It's this as well," and it's this thing of. I studied lots of stuff. I studied to know, not to gain knowledge, just to know, just to know more. And that was, and we've talked about this. I think we talked about this in another show. And it's that thing of you got to stop letting go of the old power. Stop letting go of trying to grab loads of stuff and just let yourself know. Just let yourself go with the flow, because I think it's I don't know what the future's going to bring, but the way the energy is going, I think things will at some point tip and the world will flip on the head. And the people that are already doing the clearing, and the people that are already going in the flow and living day by day and moving away from this old paradigm anyway, they'll be fine. The people that are still stuck in that paradigm, for them, it'll be the end of the world. I think that is where this whole Armageddon thing comes from, is that I think the truth is that if you're on the road to change, you'll just carry on changing. Yeah. If you're stuck in the old paradigm, it'll be like the end of the world.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. And I get sad when I can clearly see people stuck, and I still have a tendency to try and interfere. And I realize sometimes it's necessary to step back and allow them to feel more pain of hanging on to their old ideas, in the hope that eventually the pain will cause them to maybe let go and see a different way, So I used to think that I had to keep bombarding them with information that would sow seeds, but sometimes there's a point where you have to detach with love And I find that hard, Sifu, to be quite honest with you,
Yeah.
especially those people closest to me.
Of course.
To see them going through that, But, each soul is responsible for its own progress, And I also think that when people say, you can have what you want, I think what that means to me is you can really let go and allow the soul to come through and have what it wants and let the ego go. It's my feeling is that there are so many people trying to analyze, and is that a feminine aspect? Is this masculine? Is it this? Is it that? And they're missing the point in the over-analysis and trying to work it out. They're missing the point that there's so much beauty around us, that we can just be rather than think or rather than do, So don't get me wrong, that's what I used to do all the time. I used to look out there for the solution. And I know today that the solution's in here, and it's in here. And if you just tap and stay silent and say, just please show me, and ask really, because, my feeling is we're talking to the universal intelligence here, which is a tad bigger than us, to say the least, And so we're asking, please show me how you would like me to act here. And the other thing about it is if you don't want to fight, don't get into the boxing ring. I've been told that many times, and it's so subtle how this fight will drag you in. And once you're in, and, it's bloody difficult to get back out again.
Yeah.
But, my feeling is take a seat in the audience and just watch this greatest show on earth, really, because the fight is the fight or flight response, and it brings with it contraction and defensiveness, and that's a masculine characteristic, really.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the fight and flight. The opposite of fight and flight is called the rest and digest response, and that's associated with the feminine. It stores food, it stores energy for the long term. It's trying to get a balance between those two, when the masculine and the feminine. And there's two terms, the posh terms, ergotropic and trophotropic. And one, trophotropic means to nurture, and ergotropic means to use energy. So one's obviously male and external, And I know now that my function as a soul now is as a protector of the sacred feminine. I know that now, that's my job. Because these dragonic and draconian energies that frightened me when they first come in, I realized that what they've done is they've brought a lot of power with them, right, as a protector, not as a commander or anything like that, but as somebody who can watch out and protect the feminine that really does have all the answers, God, did I just say that on a live thing? But the point is, I got it wrong for the first half of my life. I was brought up to believe that a male should act in this way, and it never, ever, ever felt comfortable for me, So there is some balance coming, and I'm not perfect, and I'm getting it wrong all the time, but I don't mind now. I don't mind making mistakes, and I even don't mind people pointing things out, because I take everything on board, and then I let it sift through my heart and say, show me what's the correct course of action in this moment.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is what I do now may be exactly the opposite of what I need to do tomorrow. So it's about remaining flexible and not knowing until the occasion arises in the present moment, And to me, that's probably what you would call living the Tao,
Yeah. It's, I mean, there's many different versions of Daoists. The barefoot doctors, they love, they're like spiritual, they're sort of like scientific Daoists or spiritual scientific, because they'll everything has boxes and categories, and you would see that maybe as a like more of a masculine thing of all bosses, and yes, there's 10,000 different ways you can do stuff. The dragon dog shaman is you just do it. It's thought, feeling, action. You put those three together. Does it feel right? Does it seem right? You get the idea, you get the feeling. Yes, you get a good feeling behind it. Then you do something about it. You do the action. So the barefoot doctors give, let's say 50,000, 10 in the in the Daoist, the Tao Te Ching, which is sort of like not so much a Bible, sort of more like a Daoist instruction book, and they talk about the 10,000 things. So the barefoot doctor has the 10,000 things of doing things, and there's all these different ways, and it's a little bit like that movie. There was a movie that once said, "There's 10,000 ways to die. Choose one." And you know, the dragon dogs just pick one. They don't worry about all that. They just go, "Well, have that one, thanks."
Yeah.
And it's that thing of, you know, you can spend so much time over, and this was the thing when you learn martial arts, you start learning like the true martial arts, the hardcore martial arts. And the hardcore martial arts is the spiritual warrior. It's about, you know, protecting people. But when you originally start, you know, you can look at somebody and go, oh, if they was to attack me, what would be their strengths? What would be their weaknesses? Or, you know, or I could do this, this, and this. I could do this and this. And it's a bit like being a chess player, having, you know, been 16 moves ahead. But eventually, the Grandmaster, you don't worry about being 500 moves ahead. You just do. You just react. And you see you already see the ripples. You already see what's happening because everything is energy. Everything is like water. So when somebody does something, you can in essence already see or feel that ripple. And if it feels good, that's saying, well, at least 5, 6, 7, 8 moves ahead. That's the way to go. And so you go with that. So you don't have to keep going up here and thinking for up here because the biggest thing of I actually haven't got them about on me, but when I normally use Yoda as intuition and Stitch as monkey mind, so monkey mind is the brain. The forebrain you have, was it? There's an argument between, was it 70 and 90,000 thoughts a day that they're saying the forebrain has. So, you know, that is your ego. That is the monkey mind of, oh, you should do this, or what will they think? What will this think? What will that think? And that's where all the past recordings are as well, of your Uncle Bert or your granddad or your mum or your dad or your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or ex-dog or banana. All those, you know, negative thoughts, or all those criticizing thoughts, they're all there in the forebrain. Yeah. Intuition is here. Intuition is the heart. This is where even within religions in Egypt, they touch the stomach, they touch the heart, they touch the head. So from the 3 stars, I welcome thee, or I honor thee. But this is the middle one. This is, and you know, even when we do the cross, it's actually here. We start here at the heart, because that's enough. The Holy Spirit in Christianity was actually originally the mother. It was changed to the Holy Spirit because they were trying to push away from the feminine and only focus on the man. That's why you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It was actually the Father, the child, and the mother. You know, was according to certain priests that I know who have seen that old Roman thing, and that was moved out in the 14th century. So the old balance, we used to have this balance. And we're getting this balance back, and that's but whether we did or we didn't is irrelevant. We to move forward, things are getting more chaotic, and you see things falling apart. You see things changing, and you need to find your center. And even that's what I was going to say. One more thing, there's that whole thing of selfishness, you know, in spirituality. They say, oh, you know, to look after yourself is selfish. The Taoist path is you should look after yourself 51%. 51% looking after you and 49% looking after everybody else. And you could say, oh, but, you know, why, you know, 1% more? Because that 1% will keep you growing and building, getting stronger and stronger. And so that 49% you can do forever. And you never burn out. But if you do the other way round, even just 1%, you do 51% helping others, you'll slowly wear down, you slowly wore out. And how many people do we know that do 80% other people? You know, they're always helping other people, and then they get ill. And when they get ill, everything falls apart because nobody's looking, you know, they do it all, and that's the problem. So you have to maintain yourself 51%.
I was trained as a people pleaser, serve other people, you know, and that's the way to get to heaven. And I didn't have the understanding as a child, so I just followed the instructions. And I was a giver, and I became a massive people pleaser. I couldn't say no to anybody. And I just kept giving me energy away, energy that I needed for myself, really. And it was exhaustion, physical exhaustion, that led me to start thinking in peculiar ways and stuff like that. So then I would try and take external sources of energy then, you see. But I agree, since I've started to recover and get better and maintain more of a balanced state, I do give more to myself than others now. But people around me who I've been with for a long time, they think I've become awfully selfish, and that I don't care. And it's not true. And I know the truth. I care very, very deeply about humanity, but I care a lot about myself. And Sensei, I'm going to say a swear word here, but I really couldn't give a shit what anybody thinks about me anymore. And that was my biggest problem, is what will they think of me? And I'm not being horrible, but it's my big thing is now, what will I think of me if I do this next? And I work on that. It must be dragon dog thing, because I work now from my heart first, and I sense the direction. And as you say, sometimes I can feel about 7 moves ahead, right? And it's almost like sort of prophesying based from the heart, And then if I get then stuck, I'll stop then and go back, re-navigate, and then maybe slightly change my direction and carry on. And it seems to be working very well. Have I got it perfectly correct? Have I hell? I think I'm only ever scratching the surface of what's available to human beings. I really do. And like you say, I think now that we're coming into our own sovereignty, our own power, but we have to take 100% responsibility for the choices that we make, because even pointing the finger for 1% is putting us back in the victim seat, and that's the whole thing is, I am 100% responsible for this, where I'm at now, because of the choices that I made. Nobody's forced me to do anything that I haven't allowed at some level, and when I got to that point, I started to get more and more free, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I can feel the old habits coming back to say, yes, but if you'd only have done this, I wouldn't be feeling like this now. That's a lie. That's a trap.
And there was an interesting mindset very, very quickly. There was an interesting mindset of this whole thing of giving and being selfish. And one of my Sifus would say is that if you don't do 51% for yourself, you are selfish, because you will destroy yourself, and then you can't help others. Your service to self, service to others contains service to self. You have to maintain your own well-being to be able to help others, and that's the point, because because if you're ill, everything you do will be done in that manner, will be done in that way.
Absolutely.
There was a question I was going to ask, but I'm not. We're really, we're almost up to the end, and maybe this might be a question for next month, the new year. I'll plant the seed. I'll see what you decide. But so where we're talking about, this, now you've learned to be, you are being, you're helping others, but others think you'll become more self-centered, but. And you don't have to answer this one, Doc, because this is going to be quite. I know you talk about this, but it is quite personal at the same time. But in the past with the addictions, do you think that the addictions arose from the fact that you weren't looking after self, that you weren't focusing on, you weren't being balanced within yourself, and hence the addictions came in? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I had at the core. My connection was lost at the core. I had no self-worth or self-esteem. So everything became external then. And I would study a lot to get certificates to show people how clever I was. But on the inside, I didn't feel good at all. In fact, the more I tried to convince people that I was okay, the worse I felt about myself. So and what the drinking did was it temporarily disinhibited me. And it sort of almost like pushed me back to my core, but it was in a chemically induced way. It's my whole life was basically, there's a phrase that says fear, an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence is shot through with it. And what that means is I feel that the whole human race at some level has been fear conditioned through stupidity, through naivety, through ignorance, through pride, through temptation. We've all been lured away from our essential selves. But I think the game's up now. The game's up, So, yeah, it's about reconnecting with the true source of power, not some sort of external fantasizing, really. So the answer is yeah. But maybe, Sifu, maybe I signed up for the alcoholic trip before I came here just to experience the recovery from it. Because, I tried to end my life because I just couldn't handle it anymore. And it was almost at the gates of insanity and death. Something spoke to me to said, okay, son, you've come as far as you can now. Now turn around the other way now. We're going to show you how to do this step by step so that you can get out of it. And your job is to just tell people what you've gone through in the hope that it might inspire them to turn around and get a better life. And that's what I see my purpose is now, is to be honest about what's happened to me, to be honest about what's happening to me now, both the supposed good and supposed bad, and just say, here's my experience. This is what I've done. This worked. This didn't work. However, you've got to make your own choice, Yeah. So I really don't give a shit now about my old. I don't hang on to the old story anymore because I'm a completely changed character. That's what they think.
Oh, indeed. But no, but I want to say no. I totally agree. I think we do. I think it's harsh to some people, but I think we do sign up. The predicaments where because this gets really touchy because somebody once said to me, well, you mean like people in a wheelchair chose up to be and it's like, yeah, but a lot of people I know who are wheelchair bound are super bloody positive people. I used to teach wheelchair qigong. Used to teach. There was a group of people that did tennis and wheelchair, and those guys were super freaking fit. I've known people who've done the marathon. And again, you don't want to bloody arm wrestle them. They'll rip your arm out. The power they got in their arms. But yes, I think it depends what you think this is. If you think this is the be all and end all, then you take everything seriously. If you think you've only got one life, you take everything seriously. If you think or feel or know, pick any of the right words for you, that this is just one droplet in a billion droplets of lives that you've had, and this is just like the Matrix, the simulation, the game, and you're playing a new role, you're experiencing things in a new way, then whatever's happening to you is just in that, because the next one it'll be different, and the next one it'll be different, and the next one, and that's for I woke up. Like I said, 9-year-old, I remembered, maybe even before 9, but definitely at 9, I remember having past life, stuff in past lives. Yeah. But I was also 1979. I was wise enough to know, because I had a mum who was quite. If you coughed, suddenly she wants to take you to the doctor because she thinks your lungs are falling out. So I also knew that if I was to tell people what was going on, I'd probably be locked up in the loony bin, which is by 11. I tried to commit suicide myself. I was the same. I said, I've had enough of this. I want out. I don't get this world. I don't get I don't get that I'm hearing everybody's thoughts and then they're turning around and denying everything, or feeling their feelings and they're denying everything. Yeah. And I wanted out. And it was a similar sort of thing that I ended up, going, no, you signed up for this. Go back. You're in for the long haul, but go back, And then I saw the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, for me, is what got me through, because then it goes, okay, all right. It's and that's the thing, when you start seeing that bigger picture, when you slow your breath down, when you listen to your heart, when you connect, you expand your energy. When you expand your energy, you expand your consciousness. When you expand your consciousness, you see more of the viewpoint. You see more of what's going on, and hopefully, the more you see, that's enough for you to go, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to do this then, or I'm going to do that, or at least I'm going to keep going.
See, I'm with you now, and these are things like reincarnation, or maybe different dimensions. You know, if we take the present moment, you know, just to leave on this note, you know, somebody asked me if you had the chance to choose what you wanted to come back as next time. I said I'd like to come back as a woman because it's much easier. So I'm going to leave it at that now.
and I'm going to do, what was it? Eddie Izzard. Eddie Izzard said, "I'm a lesbian stuck in a man's body." That's my excuse. So I'm going to leave it on that one. So if we haven't just caused a great big turmoil, I don't know what will ever happen. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. I have. And as that I have, and that's all that matters. I think he has. That's all that matters. I mean, again, it's that 51%. That's what we do the show because we love talking to each other and we love chatting, and we're hoping that it resonates with one or two of you. If that's one or two, that's awesome. And that's what it's all about. So. For you out there, I hope you have a festive season. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. This weekend, I'm going to be dressing up as Krampus, scaring the living daylights out of people. That's my for the last 4 years. I've got a band called Spring and Mist that I follow, and they do the Krampus tour. And Krampus was a pagan, old English, sort of like the Boggie man. That if you're naughty, the Krampus brings you a lump of coal, and if you're really naughty, it will take you away in a sack. So I'm going to be Krampus. I'm Boggie Krampus. That's for me for this weekend. And Christmas. Well, Christmas is going to be an interesting one. Actually, first time. Actually, was it last year, or was it? I think it's the first time in a good couple of years I'm actually having Christmas with my mum and my brother, and we're actually going to a restaurant. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be different for a new year. So that's it for me. Very quickly, what are you doing, Joe, for Christmas? You got anything planned?
Yeah, we're going to the Highlands of Scotland.
Oh, okay, the new.
And we're going to. Where Outlander was made, there's a series called Outlander, and you know we're very hooked on that, and we're going to the battlefields up there, you know, and stuff. Culloden Moor isn't that far away, so we're going to go down to.
Wow.
That's if we're not snowed in, you know.
Yeah.
Completely isolated in a cottage, away from everything, just to sort of chill out and recollect and reconnect. Really. So I wish also everybody a happy festive season. If I'm still allowed to say happy Christmas to everybody, because in some sort of organisations we're not allowed to say that now. But
apparently. But this organisation is not one of those. So happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah.
So, the very best to everybody, and see you in the new year. And Sifu, I love you, and thanks very much.
Indeed. Okay, so guys, take care. That's it from us. We're done. We're kaput. Until next time, love, Chi and Shen. See you next time. Bye for now.